Okay. All righty. Okay. So, any thoughts or reflections from the last class? We only did the. Oh yeah, we did a little bit of Hanukkah too.
hmm Um, it's not even the last one. It's the class before. I think we're talking about brachas, and it made me really think. Baruch Hashem, I'm really thankful for the powerful morning and everything, and Hashem sent me a Zadic to teach me. I'm very grateful. Because one thing I've learned is that you don't deserve anything. You know what I mean? Everything is a free gift from Hashem. Uh, it made me realize, like, Rob, I'm not even in the game yet. You know what I mean? Like, not even eating kosher food. So it's like yeah, whatever. It's almost like Hashem. I don't want to use a bad example. But I'm gonna use this one. Um, when Hashem was trying to warn the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, like to turn their ways, like the Midrash says that he sent them abundance, like he sent them like a preview. You know what I mean? Of like how much abundance it would be, whatever, whatever, just to get them to turn away. Like this is what you can have if you go on the righteous path, if you do teshuvah. And I'm trying to use that example in the sense of like sometimes I feel like these real spiritual connections to Hashem. You know what I mean? Like I feel these insights. I get to talk to you every single day, talk to Zadik, Hashem. Like I feel all these things. And it's like it's just a preview, dog. It's not even what it's really going to be like when you're really eating kosher food. You know what I mean? When you're really in the sense of kashrut, when your household is the way it's supposed to be, when you're community surrounded by other Jews. You know what I mean? Like that's when you really in the game, baby. That's when you really like can tap in. You know what I mean? So I was just thinking about that. It's humbling. It's like really exciting to think about too. It's like, yeah, okay. There's some levels. You know what I mean? Like you and Rob Pincus, y'all on a whole different level. Like you can't get there when you're eating non-kosher food. You can't get there when
Yeah,
you're,
he's built. He's built different.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like so I was
Built
just it
different.
makes me think about that. Like it's exciting. You know what I mean? Like, okay, why take these next
But he didn't
steps?
start off. But he didn't start off like that. He evolved into that.
Right, right, right. So yeah,
So
not
those
even in
what
the
you get.
game yet, but it's cool. You said what, Ruff?
No, but I'm saying like, who knows? I mean, I wasn't where I'm at when I first started either.
Hmm.
But I told you, first times I went into the Kabbalah Center, bro. I was like blazing in the guard before I went in. I was just trying to get right. You know what I mean? I was
Oh
just like,
yeah.
hey, I was just like, say something crazy. I'm good. What you got? You know?
Oh, hey, Rob, we supposed to start with the story. My bad. My bad. I forget it. That's my bad. I was supposed to open up with that. I might have to call you with it because I think we're recording
Yeah,
already.
yeah. We do it off record, off record.
Yeah, I got you.
But the point is just saying, one of the things that I remember hearing Yehuda Berg say years ago, and he was saying that like, what is the purpose of studying Kabbalah? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of studying Kabbalah? And it's like what to get to have healing. You don't need Kabbalah for healing. There's other meditation stuff. I mean, it's not necessarily Kabbalah. I mean, people different ointments they can make, natural herb. There's a lot of ways you can get healing. He says, is it to gain more pranasa? Nope. A lot of Jews who are making money have nothing to do with hunting Kabbalah. It's not Kabbalah making doing make money. He said, is it to become wise? Nope. Some really wise people that don't even really mess with Kabbalah like that. You know what I mean? And and on and on, right? And he says, so what is the purpose of Kabbalah then? Like, what is the purpose of the study of Kabbalah? What is it? What is supposed to invoke the student of this wisdom? What does it make them become? Like, what's the end product, right? Because, like you can say, the end product for learning the Talmud is being a very organized person, being able to see the difference between pure and impure, right? You can say being a student of, say, the five books of Moses, right? You get a very clear understanding of the lineage of how God reveals himself, and it gives you a sense of awe, of creation and these types of things, right? So there's all these different things bring you to certain thinkings. The midrashim brings you certain things, or you could go into certain commentators. When people learn Ramban, is different than people learn Rambam. There's people who learn Rashi. You know what I mean? All these things are different modes of learning that bring you to a certain way of thinking at the end of like studying their Torah per se.
Mm.
And so, and so by Kabbalah, the reason why people study Kabbalah and the purpose of Kabbalah is for one reason and one reason only, and has been the same reason throughout history, is for a person to become something beyond their imagination.
Mm.
Like the person I am now, that there's a whole nother version of myself that exists that I can connect to.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It already exists. This other version of myself already exists right now.
Mm.
So like back in the day when I started Kabbalah and I was blazing in the car, the rabbi already existed.
Mm.
He already existed. I didn't know. I didn't know about him. I didn't know about him. I was just chilling. There was girls up in there and there was some good ideas. I was like, I'm good. I come from a Muslim family. We're good. We got wisdom. We got we know this. And I had to come in there and accept that there was wisdom that I could learn from the Jewish people. Because for me, it was like, well, we got the total truth, and we're Muslim, and this, and my parents are successful, and they're like forward thinking, and all these types of things. So I'm like, what are these fools that what are you gonna tell me? Like we've been going to therapy for years, you know what I mean? Like all types of stuff, right? Anyways, the point is just saying, so I had to humble myself to come and learn and then really like say like, wow, this is like way bigger than what I've been exposed to, like for me to admit that, you know what I mean? Like for me to admit, like me going to a Shabbat and being like, waking up that next morning, going to Shabbat at the Kabbalah Center and then waking up the next morning and be like, what the hell just happened last night? Like feeling such a deepness in my chest and myself. And you just felt like, you're just like, what the heck just happened? And you just want to go back.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And it just keeps pulling. It keeps pulling. You don't want it. You're good. Your life's good. You're chilling, dog. You got plans. You're about to do this. You're gonna do that. Just make some money. Go through. For me, bro. I'm an experienced guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm about the experience. I'm about to chill. I'm about having fun. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of guy I am. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, hey, let's get with it. You know what I mean? Where's the party at? You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at, right? And so like for me, when I came to the Kabbalah Center, it was just like me just getting hit with all this stuff that was so different and contradictory to what I was raised with, which I was very proud of, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, it was a whole process. But the point is the same. Everybody goes through that. I'm at one place and then I get exposed to other wisdom and then I realize that there's another place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So whether it's you feeling that way, through these conversations, or when me just coming in Kabbalah, I was like, bro, like this is crazy, though. Like I mean, first time I went to a Shabbat, nighttime Kabbalah Shabbat, and I was like, damn, that's what you guys do?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, damn, you guys be doing this, you guys, bro. In the Kabbalah Center, they got all the meditations too. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Kabbalah Center got all the meditations. So you like, damn, this is like some space
Yeah.
life. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like I feel like I was like going up to like space at now. I'm looking at the stars outside. Like, we elevating right now. You know what I mean? So the point is just saying it's a neshama. It's a calling. You know what I mean? It's just like, there's really nothing we can do about it. You know what I mean? It just keeps pulling you and pulling you and pulling you. And, and then, bro, now I'm here in Jerusalem, bro. Like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Like you tell me I walk in that building and be like, hey, you know what? Like 20 years from now, Doug, like, you're going to be a rabbi in Jerusalem, Doug. You know what I'm saying? That you have this like big keeper on, and you're just gonna be teaching Torah all day. I'd be like, what? What are you talking about, bro? Like, were you deranged? You know what I mean? Like, how would you say something so ridiculous? Anyway, so the point is just saying like, that's an important frame just to be on. Is just like, just learn the real you. You know what I mean? That's the main thing. It's like whoever we are at this moment, even the person I am today, I mean, I'm still I'm on the journey. I don't know where I'm going to be at 10 years from now. All right. So this week's Torah portion, Vayeitzel. Yeah, yeah. Vayeitzel. Vehine So he's saying that. Okay, so this is the Baal Shem Tov. Just first of all, let's clarify that. So the Baal Shem Tov, as we talked about, is the great grandfather, the OG of the Hasidic movement.
Mm.
He's around. I said what you said. The Baal Shem Tov was like 200 years ago,
Okay.
something like 200 years ago. Anyways, but he's all the successions after him. You had Rabbi Yitzhak Yosef, and then you had the Maggid Dov Ber of Midrash. You had Rav Zusha, Rav Eli
Mm.
Melech.
Mm.
You had what else you had after that? After Rav Zusha, Eli Melech. I want to say the Alter Rebbe,
Mm.
the founder of Chabad. I don't know. Anyways, but
Mm.
all these people come from him. They come from his teachings. He brought a whole new idea. Okay, so this is how he starts it, right? This is how he starts it. He says it's known that the forefathers correspond to Hesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. Abraham embodies the qualities of Hesed, loving kindness. He loved and showed generosity to the entire creation and tried to instill in them faith in God and a desire to serve Him because the traits of Hesed correspond to love. Through Abraham's great dedication to this trait, he came to recognize and comprehend the Creator and realize that God runs the entire world. Isaac learned to receive this approach from Abraham. However, he still wanted to come to his own understanding of God. This was the verse. This is what is the verse says. God knows. It says in Chronicles, "Know the God of your father to serve Him." One should not merely accept his service as tradition to fulfill by rote. Therefore, Isaac devoted himself to the trait of pity. And out of this great care to fulfill the will of God, he came to know and comprehend God for himself, besides what he received from his Father. Now, God realized that there must be a middle way in this operation of the world, the mediation between Hesed and Gevurah, because the world could not survive if it only functioned through one of these two extremes. Therefore, he devoted himself to the traits of Tiferet, and through this, he arrived at a deeper understanding. It's a deeper understanding of the perception of God than his father, who whose fathers and is called the chosen of the forefathers. He saw the world that would not exist as a unmalignant judgment and to temper the traits of compassion. Okay, so this is an interesting introduction to this parsha. So basically, he's explaining this idea of understanding, like we have to understand the avos in the frame of Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, right? And and what he's saying that when Abraham created, he brought the energy. He revealed the energy of Hesed in the world, right? The energy of Hesed existed since the beginning of creation, but Abraham and who he was in his whole temperament and his behavior and his embodiment, he revealed to us the traits of Hesed,
Mm.
right? And so through that, he brought a son that gives this aspect of Hesed, but in the frame of Gevurah, right, which is a limitation on the Hesed, right? And he said the world couldn't exist with just the energy of Hesed and the energy of Gevurah in the world. Those are two extremes. So Yaakov came, and he came as Tiferet to balance both of those things are. So what we're understanding is how these energies came into existence, right? Like we could talk about it now in this frame, right? We're talking about Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, right? We're saying that. Or we could look at it that these energies were created in the endless world,
Mm.
right? And so, how were they created in the endless world? And how would we understand how they were created in this world? How does Hesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet in the endless world create?
Mm.
before there was even a physical planet Earth. How are those energies created? That's what they're teaching you right now. They're teaching you how those energies were created in the infinite world through how Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov came in development. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's keep going. So it says, Haaretz asher at shocher elai lak et nina. So he says like this. He says, upon the land upon which you lie, I will give you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Rashi states that God folded up the. Okay, so this is so you know the situation. So Yaakov come and he lays down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Rashi states that God folded up the entire land of Israel underneath the head of Yaakov. This is the midrash. This means that he would not have to travel from place to place to retrieve his sparks, but he could find them all in one place. That's a level. So
Mm-hmm.
so the level that Jacob was like. So what does this mean, sparks? Right? What does this mean, sparks? What does this mean, sparks? So like in the beginning of creation, there was a particular energy structure, right? That encompassed the world on a spiritual level. And when Adam and Eve ate from the Eitz Hadas, it broke that spiritual structure, like almost like a chandelier crashing, and pieces of the chandelier went all over planet Earth, right? And so part of the idea of bringing Mashiach is revealing all the sparks that we could reveal by ourselves, right? So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the idea of the Jews being in diaspora is to be able to go places and to be able to elevate those sparks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing. So what we're saying is that so every human being has their own sparks that they have to retrieve. For example, when we do a bracha, we learned in a chayv in a chav hayashar that there's souls inside of those foods that need to be elevated, right? When we say a bracha, right? And it only works on kosher food, like we talked about, right? And he said that we elevate the soul inside of that food, right? We elevate that soul, and that soul goes to a higher kingdom, right? And so that idea, right? That idea is to say, okay, if it goes to a higher kingdom, okay, that's it. But the Kabbalah goes even further. And it says that we as people in our past life, everywhere that you live, like right now, you live somewhere, right? I live somewhere. In some incarnation, we gave away energy to the dark side in these places. So we moved to these particular places to do mitzvahs to uplift those sparks that we gave away in past lives. You understand? So the
Mm-hmm.
idea is to say, so imagine a person who goes to a certain place to reveal, to uplift certain sparks, right? And God makes it so easy for them that the land serves them that all the sparks come to him to make it easy for him to do. So in this particular place and time, the sparks that are supposed to be revealed, they ran to where he was at. They was like, please reveal me. Okay, so it says Shemati Vashem Mori Be I'm sorry Biur Pasuk Haaretz Hashem Akata Yoshev Alai Lach. So it's saying like this, and behold, God was standing over him, right? This is when he's laying down, and and said, "I am the Lord, your father Abraham. I'm the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, the God of Yitzhak, in land upon which you are laying. I will give you and your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread throughout the west, in the east, into the south, into the south, and in you and in your seeds will the blessings of all the families of the earth." This is big stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like part of the. This is what we're talking. This is what we're accepting now. That there's descendants of Yaakov all over the planet Earth, right? I mean, it's right here, right? And they ain't all gonna look alike. So okay. So anyways, so it says Rav Yitzhak said. So he's bringing. I'm saying he's bringing a Gemara, I guess. He says Rav Yitzhak said, "This teaches us that the Holy One, blessed be, fold up the entire land of Israel underneath him." that is that it should say be easy for the children to conquer. Why is it necessary to fold up the land, and why isn't the promise that it would be easy for them to be that to conquer to be sufficient? So he's saying like, okay, so he's asking an interesting question. He's saying that the dust of the earth you should spread. Okay, blah blah, blah the whole thing. So he's saying Rav Yitzhak says in the Gemara, he says that Rabbi Isaac said this teaches us that the land is folded up underneath him, saying that if the future generations the land would be it'll be easy for them to conquer it, right? And so they asked a question on this, and saying, but why does it have to say that? Why is it necessary to fold up the land? Why couldn't it just be sufficient that your future generations will be able to conquer, right? So he's saying elsewhere, I wrote I wrote in the explanation of the Talmud statement. This is all bullshit. He says, I find favor in the eyes of those who live there. It says this in Tractate Brachos. Rabbi Yoshi ben Kanina said, what is the meaning of where is God that brought us out of the land of Egypt that led us? Right? We say that all the time, right? So what is the meaning of it? That's what he's asking. Through a land that no one passed through and where no man has settled. It says with Jeremiah. He says, since no one passed through, obviously no man could settle there. Rather, it teaches us that any in that Adam decreed for the settlements become settled, and every land that he did not decree for settlement was not settled. I'm trying to understand this. So it says like this. So I wrote an explanation because he's commenting on the Gemara and Brachot. Okay. Okay, so in Gemara Brachot, Rav Kaninia says he asked the question, where is God that brought us out of the land? What is the meaning of blah blah blah? He says through a land that no one has passed and where no man has settled. Okay, so this is the question. Okay, so this is the question. So Rav Kanina asked the question: what is the meaning of up from the land? What is the meaning of through a land that no one has passed through and where no man has settled? It says this in Jeremiah. So he says, since no one has passed through it, obviously no man could settle there. Rather, it teaches us that any land that Adam decreed for settlement became settled, and every land that he did not decree for settlement was not. So I guess we're talking about like the format of the world, like the continents and these types of things. Like there are certain places that Adam acknowledged, and those are the places we settled, and there's places where he didn't. I mean, what does it mean exactly? So it says uve havin ze yesh lemor. So we'll see what he says. So he says we can understand this by the means of the Arizal. Yay! Who taught that Adam's sin cast all the sparks of the holy souls among the impure shells, causing good and evil to become intermingled. We are just talking about this. These sparks must be lifted through the Torah study. We're just talking about it's crazy. See, we know what we're talking about. We got the Masura. All right. So anyway, so just go over this again. So the Arizal taught that the Adam sin cast the sparks of holiness among the impure shells, right? Okay, this is what we're talking about, how that spiritual structure broke down and the sparks went everywhere, like a chandelier crashing, right? Causing good and evil to be mixed. These sparks must be lifted through Torah study, through serving God and performance of mitzvahs, all with God's help. When the divine presence is among us, this is the mystery of give strength of God. It says in Psalms, when the sparks are shifted out, they ascend as feminine waters. Thus, Thus Israel was exiled among all the 70 nations in the place of the sparks, in which individual Jews must go into exile to the place of sparks of his own soul to extract and rectify them. We just said this. See, thus the exile for every 70 nation is a place of the sparks. And each individual Jew must go into exile to the place, to the sparks of his own soul, to extract and rectify them. I just took it a step level with the bracha. So he says, the exception of Egypt, which is of which it states, you shall never see them again. This is because they despoiled the Egyptians. He says they trap like a trap empty fish. No one holy spark was lift there. Through the Shekhinah had been in complete exile there. They removed from there all the portions of goodness that have been intermingled with the evil and the impure shells. This happened through the intervene of dot and through it, as it states, the sort of out though. The for Moshe is the dot of holiness, which is good, as it's written. And she saw he was good. This the sages say another prophet like Moses did not arise in Israel. In Israel he did not arise, but among the nations he did arise. And 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 who was he? Balaam. Moses and Balaam were both in the mystery of Dot, but one was from the side of holiness, and the other was from the side of impurity. First, good and evil were intermingled. As a result, Adam sinned in that of Cain and Hevel. Later, it was rectified so that Moses emerged completely good. Moses came out completely good. Completely good, and Balaam was separated from him. Thus, equal to Moses, but in dot of the impure Sarah. Thus, it's written, he knew the knowledge, the dot of the Most High. He says most generations too know as the generations of knowledge of Torah. And Moses is in every generation in order to perfect it. Oh boy, he's swinging hard right now. Hold on. So it says, "Ne du'at ki makoma nefilat hanitziot hu." Okay, so he says, he says how he says now it is known that the sparks fell into the klipa noga. You know about the klipa noga, and he says in that noga has the numerical word of grace, chin.
Mm.
He says this is the meaning. A place finds favor in the eyes of those who live there because the sparks from the root of that person's soul fell into the klipa noga. We just said this. This is real, baby. He's doing it, but he's not saying the bracha. He's just saying period. I don't think he's going to talk about past lives. Let's see if he does that. So, anyways, so he says like this. So he says, because the sparks from the root of the person's soul fell into the klipa noga, which is called chen. Therefore, the place where he lives, he finds favor in his eyes, so that he can extract those sparks. So he kind of agrees. I mean, the only way it could happen is from a past life. So he's just indirect. He's just not saying it clearly. So it says, "Beze mukibin gamakin kavinot," and so he says, and this was also what Rav Yossi ben Chanina meant to every land that Adam decreed would be inhabited. That is, any place that he felt that any place that the sparks fell due to Adam's sins, when good and evil became intermingled, it was decreed upon its inhabitants. So a person whose soul's sparks are there would retrieve them. Okay, so you're saying the original. So he's going even further back than even what I was saying. I was saying like when a person is reincarnated, their sparks there. He's going back to the original super soul system that was broken during the times of Adam and Chava, and within that, all of our sparks of our souls are in there, right? So he says, let us return to the Baal Shem Tov's explanation of the verse. A person travels from place to place in order to redeem sparks of his own soul. But God foiled up the land of Israel under Jacob's head so that he wouldn't have to travel. The entire land was gathered beneath him. He would redeem them right there. Emunam sheish lechen lema asek chet leYaakov velo leSaar levut zo leAdam achar. So he says, it says, why did God, he says, why did God so this for Jacob and not for the other forefathers? It's a great question, right? Or other individuals. It could be heard from Rabbi Nachman, on the first Mishnah of Pia. He says there are things that when a person does them, he eats from their fruits in this world, while other primary rewards wait for them in the world to come. Making peace between friends or between husband and wife, and the study of Torah is equal to them. Just as both peace and disharmony exist throughout the world, so it exists in each person, following the principles of space, time, and soul. A person can contain two conflicting individuals within him. But if he wants to remove the inner dimension and draw unity into this world, this is by studying the Torah. So they're saying there's two aspects. This disharmony exists within inside of us, right? He says, just as there's both peace and disharmony exist throughout the world, they so too exist in each person. Us too, we got it in us. He says, following the principle of space and time and soul, a person contains two conflicting within him. But if he wants to remove the inner dimension and draw unity into the world, he says this is by studying the Torah, and unequivocally this affects the physical realm as well. Thus, the study of Torah is equal to all of them, even though there is an aspect of peace by means of Torah existing is fixed. But I'm getting attacked by gnats. She says, and he says, but by my mind, the answer is straightforward. Just as the general population reflects the world through their interactions, so the Torah scholars can do this through their Torah study. For actions are created from the Torah. The Torah is the tool of the Holy One, and though the world was created. Thus, the study of Torah is equal to all of them. Oh my goodness, he's just dropping like unbelievable bombs right now. So yeah, so he's basically saying that we're designed. He says like basically the idea of the soul and the body, right? The soul is coming from the pureness of God, and the body is made up of Hadamah. Is made of the ground, the eretz, right? And so the ground is all about the desire to receive. So that's how the human being is designed, right? With those two opposite entities being one, right? The desire to receive, which is earth, and then the desire to share, in essence, which is the soul, right? Coming from the heavens. So that's what makes up, the human being. And so he's saying here that also expresses in our personality of having a harmonious side and a peaceful side of our personality, right? Times that he said, disharmony, and in place times we're in unity. So he said to remove the disharmony, he's saying that he says that through Torah study, you can rectify the disharmony, where the disharmony could be connected to when the Torah says tohu in the second verse, and then it says Vayeitzel in the third in the third verse, and then that being the creating of a symmetrical system called day, right? So he's saying that through Torah study, you rectify and you take that inner dimension of yourself that's conflicted, and you align it to the purpose of creation. Uli neot beshuvot. I'm sorry. Yeah, K Fashuvot. So he says, but into my mind, the answer is straightforward. Just as the general population reflects the words through their actions, so does a Torah scholar could do this through their Torah study. And for the actions created from the Torah, the Torah is the tool for the Holy One, blessed be. I think we just read that the world is created, and thus so studying of the Torah is equal to all of them. Vehine Yaakov who bechaytanot haTorah asma. Asmo. So he says, but Jacob, he says, now Jacob was the aspect of the Torah itself. As it's written, Jacob is the voice of Jacob. He says in Genesis, give truth to Jacob. He says in Micah, and he says, for the Torah is called truth. Therefore, he sorted out the sparks in that place where someone else would have had to travel around. Woo. And he said, and because the study of the Torah is equal to all, thus God folded the entire land of Israel under Jacob, so that he could extract the sparks through the study of Torah, which corresponds to the entire world. This is the meaning, and you shall spread out to the west, the east, and the north, and the south. He says that is while you are still in your place, you will shift out the sparks in the four corners of the world and not need to journey all around. For the Torah studies equal. He says when you're studying the Torah, when you're trying to study, he said the sparks, like if you're sitting in a base midrash studying Torah, you're in your living room studying the Torah, is as if you are around the world picking up the sparks that your soul that would pick up normally by you having to travel there.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what he means by he folded it up. He said Jacob was the Torah, and then when he was in Israel, God folded up the world underneath him. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Jacob was there and God folded up all of Israel underneath his head? Like, what does that mean? So they're saying what it means is that Jacob, don't look at Jacob as a person, look at Jacob as Torah. And
Mm.
look at Jacob as a person of the Torah. So when he was there, God folded up Jerusalem, or folded up Israel underneath him. Why? Because there were sparks that he was supposed to achieve in Israel. He said, so the Torah is as if you're traveling to these places. When you're learning the Torah, is as if you travel to these places, and you're able to gain the sparks without ever leaving your room, right? And so he's saying, so that's what we're saying by Yaakov. He's saying by Yaakov, that's what that verse is meaning. That when a person is studying Torah, this read it again. So he says, this is what it means, and you shall be spread out north, south, east, and cast to the north and to the south. That is, while you are still in your place, you will shift out all of the sparks from your four corners. So right, while you're still in your place, you will shift out all the sparks of the four corners of the earth and not need to journey around. The study of the Torah is equal to all. Thus, the Talmud states that it is not like Abraham was, who had to walk. So Abraham had to walk around. He had to pick up the sports. He had to go lekleka.
Mm.
We're understanding Jacob in such a new level. So he didn't have to go around. He didn't have to walk like Abraham. He said he didn't have to do it. He says, Abraham, it says in Genesis, Abraham rise and walk the land in its length and its breadth. That's how he elevated the sparks. He needed to travel from place to place to take them out, those sparks. But Jacob is written in the land which you are lying, for the sparks have fallen. Okay, so let's read a few more of these. So wait, so you got any thoughts on that?
Um, yeah, it's a powerful, concept to think about. For one, everything in your life, it happens for a divine providence reason. You know what I mean? Like we look at it from the perspective of, when Israel went to Mitzrayim to elevate sparks, change the story. Change the story of trials and tribulations of your life. You know what I mean? You're going to this place for a bracha. You're going to this place to continue the divine plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not punishment. It's not, yeah, yes, of course, your actions can lead you to, environments that are more difficult in a sense, but it was designed for you to go there for a specific reason. And it's all connected to Kedusha. So when you have that framework of mind, which starts with emunah, and it starts with with Hakodosh Baruch Hu, taking the land and folding it under his head, is like in a sense of like it starts with your head, with your thought process, how you view the world, how you perceive the world. Are you viewing the world through the lenses of the Torah? And if you are, man, it opens up the whole possibilities to the purpose of creation. You're here to shed light and collect the light. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just a way to think about it. Like everything I've been through in my life, all these places, I'm like, why am I here? You're here for a reason.
Yeah.
You're here for a specific reason. You know what I mean? And if you try to connect to Hashem, you get to see more of the plan of what you're supposed to be doing. So it's just it's an amazing concept to think about for me. Like just personally taking it in.
It's good. No, you're right on it. No, that's the main idea. And the thing is seeing like through these commentaries and learning the mind of these different sages, we get to learn about the Sadek. We get to learn about the prophet in a very in-depth way because they're not just people; they're systems.
Right.
Yeah, they're systems. They're expressions of energy. They're expressions of light. They're when we're talking about them, we're talking about how the light in the heavens is manifest. So let's keep going. So it says, "Lakin yeshta hamakoma hazeda ve'anoki lo yadati." He says, "Surely God is in this place, and I did not know it." That's a very black thing. I feel like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like he's like,
Yeah.
"Man, God is here, baby. I didn't know it." I just feel like
Mhm.
that's just a natural thing. Okay, so what does it mean? How does the Baal Shem Tov, how does the Hasidim, how do they understand this point? That's why you got to know how the Hasidim see it. You got to know how the Litvak see it. You got to know how the Mizrahi see it. You got to see how the Sephardim see it. And within all those things, there's variations of different schools of thought. And all of them are brilliant. All of them are genius. And all of them are connected to Hashem. And you're doing it to build your intellectual compass.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want to have all these commentaries in your head, and you're gonna have your own, but it's not gonna just be off of the spirit.
Mhm.
It's gonna come from the surah, and you're gonna
Mhm.
be able to quote different people in different timelines that also say the same thing. So it comes from the tradition. We want to teach from the tradition. Okay, so he says, meaning, what does this mean? Meaning, if I know it, I would not have slept here. That is, if a person knows how to unite his traits, it would not be called sleep.
Mhm.
Interesting. We'll just keep going on that. Mehaval Shem Tov. Oh, okay.
That is interesting.
What were you gonna say on that?
Yeah, I kind of want to know more about what that's about. Hold on, it said wouldn't be called sleep, but we know how to unite these traits. Hmm.
Yeah, I know. I think we're gonna understand a little bit more because they're gonna talk about sleeping
Hmm.
here. So it says, yeah, it's some you just gotta keep it moving with some stuff. So he says, and he says like this, and he says, Jacob woke from his sleep, and he said, "Surely God is in this place, but I did not know it." And he said he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This alone, this is God's house. This is the gate to heaven. So he says here, the problem with this verse had another person being standing there claiming that it was not God's house, but another house in such an inner or something or something similar. It would have been correct to tell him not to say it is God's, this is alone is God's house. But since there is no one there to contradict him, why did he have to say that? Who should have just said, surely this is God's house. So he's saying, why is Yaakov's discussion in this way? He says, surely, surely, he says, I did not know. He's saying, where is this prior understanding of is speaking on? Right? He's going off it. Why he basically he wants to, why is he phrasing it this way? This can be explained with the Gemara. Rav Ye'ina proclaimed, "Woe to the one who lacks a courtyard but makes a gate to the courtyard." According to Rashi, the Torah is the gate that leads to the fear of God. Now it is known that before going to Haran, Jacob learned Torah for 14 years in the city in the city hall of Shem, Shem and Aver, in the city of Shem and Aver. And yet, during that entire time, he never felt the awe of God that he felt on Mount Moriah. Wow. 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 And he says, the place of the holy temple. Therefore, he says, since I see how awesome this place is, I decree and I declare that this alone is God's house. This is my main, he says, this is my main dwelling place. As it says, my house shall be a house of prayer in Isaiah, and all that I learned in the study halls of Shem is only the gates to heaven. It is only a gate. It's only a gate to the fear. Dog, they just tore this thing apart. So he's saying like this. He's saying he woke up, and basically what he's speaking of, he's saying, why does Jacob have to say he woke up from deep sleep and said, surely this is God's place? I did not know it. And he was afraid, and he said, this place is awesome. And so they rearranged this verse, and they're saying like this. He's saying Jacob went away and he learned in yeshiva for 14 years. And when he came out of it, he had this framework of understanding of connection to God. But when he came to this place, he was totally blown away by the light. And I can relate to that. I've been to this place, the Temple Mount. I think I maybe even talked to you or seen you pictures from there. That's a chill spot. And to the point, I used to go to a lot of grave sites. When I started going to the Temple Mount, I was good. I'm like, I'm good on all the other lights. I'm here. I'm there. You know, it's nice. Other people, but you go to the Temple Mount, you get everything. All those souls over there, they're all connected to that route up there. So anyway, so Jacob is going on that experience, right? And so he's speaking on that experience. And he says, and so he's saying that, so he's speaking on that experience. And when he says he's afraid, he says, no, I understood the gates. I understood the gates of the heavenly courts, and I understand the fear. I understood the fear, but I didn't know how awesome this place was. Woo! Woo! Boys is tearing it up, Doug. They're tearing it up, man. Come on. Cool, like your boy Zion. Let's come on.
Yeah,
Come
Zion
on.
be turned up. Zion be turned up. Bring it out.
Bring it out. He's so
up.
great at that. He's like,
Yeah.
all right. So he's Vayehi Shem Li Le Elohim. So he says, and Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me and will protect me on the journey I am taking, he will give me bread to eat and clothes to wear. So I will return to my father's house in peace. With Hashem shall be my God. So he says in all your ways you know him. It says he brings a verse from Proverbs. Whether the things are going well or not, so when misfortune befalls a person, God forbid he should think that it comes from atonement of his sins. So when something doesn't go your way, he's saying, don't just think it's atonement for your sin. Don't run there. You can be kind of Christian. You know what I mean? So he says, however, when a Sadiq experience is good, he should worry that he's using up his merits. Woo!
Yeah.
Don't get too hyped. And he says, and this is the meaning of then Hashem shall be and perhaps so Jacob, the name Yudhevat represents the attribute of compassion. In fact, Elohim is the attribute of strict judgments. Therefore, I must constantly add to my merits. Boy, Bashinto, man, I've always been like a Hasidic guy. I just always have. Veish to Yaakov Regalav. So he says, and Jacob lifted up his feet. He says, there are aspects of the lowest levels for when the Sadiqim experiences a state of constricted consciousness, they may uplift the sparks that are irregularly at the lowest levels.
Mm.
It's interesting. He says, so when you're in this place of this consciousness, you're able to elevate these really those sparks. We'll read this one and we'll finish here. We did 15. So it says, Ve'rachel Hayata Yafet Torah. So it says Tav Or. So he says Raquel was shapely and beautiful, and Jacob loved Raquel. He said this is because Jacob had the attribute of Tiferet. So he's saying, like when he's saying this, so Raquel's beauty and he loved. He said because Jacob was holding by Tiferet. Whether he saw something attractive, he would say, "This is beautiful." So becomes a physical thing. How much higher would it be if it was a delicate praising to worthy of God? Okay, yeah, that's perfect. All right, so okay, so that's a good area to start that. All right, what you got?
Man, it was kind of it's amazing how you could kind of have a thought and then boom, Hashem gives you that, solidification, validation with it. Like when a Tzaddik goes through a restriction of consciousness, it's for him to elevate the sparks. When you go into Mitzrayim, it's meant for you to elevate the sparks. That thing that you think is for your harm is actually for your benefit. You know what I mean? Like it kind of reminds me of when Adam how shown. Hashem told the earth to sprout, but it hadn't rained yet. Adam's looking around like, hey, why is it not, blossoming? And it's like, oh, Hashem created an environment for me to pray. I was like, all right, that's what the blessing is. So you have to Hashem push you in that environment, and it's meant for you to overcome. It's meant for you to tap into a moon. It's meant for you to use the Torah as your guide. You know what I mean? Once you do that, it's like, oh, this is exactly what I prayed for. I just didn't imagine that it looked like this. Because of course you couldn't imagine it. You don't. If you could, you would do it. If you understood Hashem, you would be Hashem. So, when you pray for something, I think we talked about this earlier this week. And when we map out our success in our mind before we, pursue any endeavor, it's always fairy tales and rainbows. It's always, complete ascension up. There's no pitfalls, there's no obstacles. It's just straight up. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. And you pray for this situation, Hashem's gonna put you in that situation that's conducive for that blessing to materialize. It's up to you to have the Amunah. It's up to you to have the Torah to guide you through it and to see that, you know what, Baruch Hashem, I'm exactly where I need to be. I have everything I need to accomplish this goal. Let's get it. So it's like the Zodiac goes into restrict consciousness to elevate the sparks. That's it right there, Ralph. That's it for me. That's Baruch Hashem. And drop the mic. Like that's powerful. You know what I mean? That's powerful for community building. Understanding the framework. Like Hashem putting that land under Yaakov's head, under his head. Where your head at? It's easy. You ain't got you're exactly where you need to be at. I'm gonna bring it to you. I'm gonna bring your dreams to you. You want those dreams? I'm gonna bring them to you. You don't have to do we don't have to do nothing. I mean, not in that sense, you know what I mean? Not like Christianity, just like you don't have to do anything. It's like, no, we have to put the work in, we have to toil. But Hashem got us. He's gonna aid us in whatever we want to pursue. You know? So Rob, you on mute.
When it comes to kosher food, start slowly.
Mm,
Start slowly and
mm,
try to focus on kosher meats.
okay.
Start there. Because it's like, you don't want to be too radical in this. You got people you already married, you know what I mean? So you want to take things very slow,
Mm,
right? And so meats you could justify based off of how meats are slaughtered
mm,
and how they're prepared and how
mm,
the anxiety of the animal and how that is inside of the food and how that could also add to a person's anxiety in their
mm,
in their their own thing because they're the meats that they're eating were like high. Yes, or animals that are made kosher are shechted where there's no pain. So that's an easy way for someone maybe to accept that idea, right, without it being too religious. You know what I'm saying, type of thing,
mm,
just from a basic health standpoint, and then you'll integrate, slowly other things, and you know, more vegan based type stuff, and less GMO, whatever products. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of ways to spin it, but eventually, the key thing, because the home is where the man gets all of his kedusha at. When he goes outside of the house, he's surrounded by klipa, klipa people, klipa, energy influences. So all of his energy comes from the house, right? He learns there, he eats there, he dwells there, everything he does is there. And so the idea is to be able to have your place and be like your spiritual epicenter, right? That's why shalom bayis and peace in the home is so important, because it creates a shekhinah. It creates an energy influence, right? So the food is a big deal. And eventually you'll build to this, but eventually even your dishes will have to be kosher, right? You won't mix certain dishes with certain things. Meat dishes won't be mixed with cheese, milk dishes, You have two different sides of the sink. But the whole point is balancing energies. It's not religious. It's just balancing energies. Anyway, with that being said, so idea kavana for tonight, when lighting candles, and also when saying kiddush, is this idea of being able to think about the 10 utterances that the world was created with, and to think about the 10 the 10 utterances that were on Mount Sinai, and to think about those being like vibrations that go back since the beginning of time, that were being revealed to a community of people, and to be able to connect those things and say that on Shabbat I'm connecting to the fourth vibration, which says to keep Shabbat and to remember Shabbat and to make it holy, right? So the kavana is that I'm pulling down the energy of that the world was created with, that was re-revealed to the children of Israel on Mount Sinai, and that energy I'm bringing down in my house when I'm lighting these two candles. If you do more, you do more, but these two candles is I'm bringing down that light. I'm bringing down that light that the world was created with, the light that the Torah was expressing, and expressed to us in a way that we could express God's will on this earth. And that is my kavana when I am doing Zachor Mikadesh, when I'm doing remembrance and to sanctify. And so I'm doing that. And so that's what the two candles represent, to sanctify and to remember. And then when I read the Kiddush, the first paragraph is about remembering, right? Vayikul Hashemayim v'haaretz. And then in the second paragraph, after the bracha, the second paragraph is all about Mikadesh HaShabbat, to sanctify Shabbat. So we're doing that. And so when we do that, we bring the light that the world was created with. We bring the light of those utterances on Mount Sinai, and we bring them into our house. And we bring them into our house, and we bring that concept of shalom. When we light the candles, and then we say the bracha, we start the sugya, right? When we say Mikadesh, when we say Vayakulu, and we say Mikadesh and Shabbat, when we say those things, we are bringing down those lights into the frame of the experience. Like during Sukkah, we did one bracha to sanctify the day, and another bracha, lebushev b'sukkah, to be able to enter the sukkah, right? To enter the sukkah, right? So in that same way, the candles could be seen in the frame of sanctification of the day, sanctification of the sukkah, the makom, the place that you're in Shabbat, and then the kiddush is the way to create access to the inner dwellings of it, which is the precursor to the meal, right? So those are the things. Anyways, so we'll pick up on Sunday. We'll keep building. We'll keep growing. We gotta get more focused on Hanukkah. Start getting more pure for Hanukkah, for that light. We're in it now. We're in that light of Kislev now. Every day is a kedusha. Every day is that. And I was just talking to somebody. It's like how much the biggest nisayon, the biggest challenges that we have in our life, how those are the greatest miracles given to us. You know, I know this girl. She has some mental health issues, right? But she has other personality issues that she grew up with. Based off of environment, these types of things, right? And I was thinking about it. I was like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people who go through life with these issues and never have to deal with it. But because she has these other mental health issues, she's forced to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you think like on the outside, you think like, oh wow, this person has to deal with this, they got to deal with that, they got to do these different things. But the reality is that person's the lucky one.
Yeah.
Because now they're in a situation, yeah, it may be more difficult, it may be less la world, right? Where you could just go years and years and not confronting anything and living with it, but you gotta deal with it talkless. But but at the end of the day, those are the people who make it in life. The people making in life, the people who are aching, and in many ways suffer, and because of that, they're forced to call out for God. They're forced to make moves. They're forced to do things that are uncomfortable, and that, that's what this thing is about. This thing's about crying out for God. It's not about God coming to you like, room service. Yeah, fools want God like room service, like come there and this whole thing. It's like, no, man, you got to go out and find that dude. You got to go and find the situation.
Yep.
So, anyways, I'm thankful for this week of learning. We'll just continue on next week and get ready for Hanukkah. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom, and when Baruch Atah Adonai Le'olam, Amen, Amen.